Welcome. My name is Maarten van Dijck, and I will give you a presentation about our master program, Applied History. What I will do in this presentation is I will tell you something about history at Erasmus University, about the Master of Applied History and its program, and I will end with some practical details. So what is history at Erasmus University about? We are different from other departments, and I will give you here 6 points which are important for us. First of all, from the start in the 70s of our department, we think that history should be taught as global history. If you want to understand what's happening on a local level, you also need to understand what's happening in the world. The labor market is very important for us, and therefore we teach transferable skills. We are not only teaching you content about history, but we also think that you need to acquire a couple of skills like interview techniques, working with data, and communication with presentations and with writing skills. We have an interdisciplinary approach. So we work with theories and methodologies from other sciences, but we also try to offer electives from other departments. This is also the case in the Applied History Master, where we try to offer courses from communication and arts and culture. Our department does not teach ancient history and medieval history. We have an emphasis on modern history. It means that we start at 1500, but the emphasis is on the last 2 centuries, and especially even on the developments after the Second World War. So it's modern history, because we believe that we need to contribute to society by helping to solve contemporary issues with the help of a historical perspective. And we do this all with engaging education. That means that we do not only send information to you in lectures, but we also ask students to participate in class, and we think that this makes you a better student. What is the history, the Applied History Master about? Well, here we have even more focus on the labor market. You have here the possibility to do a long internship of 10 EC. We look at the historical culture of today. That means that we try to understand discussions in contemporary society which are referring to the past. Think about discussions about Dutch identity and traditions. We look at wicked problems, so not only looking at historical culture, but also non-historical problems, trying to see how we can help to solve them with an historical perspective. And we are rooted in the past. We think about the past. We work with data from the past, but we look forward for solutions for the future. I will tell you more about this when we will discuss the different courses. So important to know is that all classes are taught in English, but that you can choose to write your papers in English. So, sorry, in English, but also in Dutch. This means that we're open to both international and Dutch students and prepare you for a career locally, nationally, or internationally, depending on your choice. What are some of the relevant questions we ask in this master program and in which we try to prepare you for the future? Well, look at the pictures here, and you don't see the picture here behind me, but that's about historical games on the computer games, which are very popular, which are also very commercialized, and it's about a lot of investments and money. But we tried also to understand how these games have an influence on the behavior and the thinking of the people playing these games. How has it an influence on historical thinking? Another example is what I already told you, the wicked problems. How can historians contribute to solving environmental issues like global warming? I think this is an important issue because global warming is an historical process. It started already in the 19th century, and it's a problem which we can only understand if we're looking also at the past. Another question is, in what way can big data and digital humanities be used in collecting and presenting information? So you will be taught in digital techniques which help you to understand big data, because in today's society, you cannot work anymore in traditional ways. You can do that, but you also need new technologies and new skills of the 21st century. A last question here in the left top is, how can you, for instance, create a relevant exhibition about Rotterdam's colonial past? This is very relevant for a super diverse city like Rotterdam, where you have multiple ethnicities living together and also people with a colonial heritage. How do we present this to the population? So it's not only about finding the right information, but also to present this information in an interesting way to the public. On this slide, you see an overview of the different courses, and I will tell you more about the different parts of the program in the next slides. So first, let's take a look at the methodological seminars, digital tools for the future and post-colonial diversity. If we talk about post-colonial diversity, then this is a course which starts from Rotterdam's super diversity to teach you something about today's society, but the main emphasis on teaching you with this content some skills like interviewing people. Oral history is a very important tool to save histories from migrants for future generations. Take the example here on the slide. This is a picture of a migrant from Iraq, coming from Iraq, born there. He has a father who was educated as a history teacher, and his mother was a mathematical teacher. He came to Rotterdam, and his life story is in an oral history archive, and it's the Specially Unknown program, which is supported by the European Union. These kind of stories are important not only for today's society and for understanding the history of people, the personal history, but also to understand today's society, looking also at the historical heritage that people bring with them. We will also be looking at visual material like photos. You see an example here. This is a photo from 1982 from West Kruiskade in Rotterdam. It's a street close to the central station. And we will look at diversity on different pictures. For instance, here you see some unrest. And we try to understand what is happening here and how are people framed and what can we learn from this picture. And as a last skill, we will try to put these pictures on a map of Rotterdam and use modern GIS techniques to see patterns, spatial patterns of where people moved in the city of Rotterdam. The second methodological course is Digital Tools for the Future. And here you see on the right a graph. We will make some simple graphs, tables, and word clouds to do what we call text mining. There is so much data today that's impossible often to read all data, but you can consult all data to analyze all kinds of problems. So here you see it's a graph about water damage, and it's part of an article where one of the authors of the article is Israel Futselaar, one of our teachers, and he was looking at the war victim legislation debates in the Dutch parliament. And he concluded a couple of things, that these kind of sentiments were the most important immediately after the Second World, and that the sentiments were becoming less important very slowly, but until the 1980s. And also that in these debates about legislation about war victims, feelings of anger and sadness were more present than in other discussions in Parliament. So with the help of modern data techniques, you learn how to understand historical texts and big data. Then we have the thematic seminars next to the methodological seminars. The methodological seminars are preparing you for doing all kinds of research and also contain a lot of transferable skills. In the thematic seminars, we try to learn you a couple of things which are very important in applied history. First core is historical culture in a globalizing world. We cover there different topics, as you can see on the slide here, like transitional justice, statute wars, memory loss, and destruction of heritage during wars. What you see in the picture is a photo of a statue, a monument in Sofia in Bulgaria, sorry, and a street artist adapted with colors the picture, the statue. So it became a sort of modern representation of superheroes, while it was a statue which remembered the army of the Soviet Union. And the fact that the Bulgarian government did not take action against the street artist here led to international tension between Russia and Bulgaria, because Russia saw this as mocking with their history. Another course which we offer is making heritage in everyday life. And this is not about big paintings and statues or architecture, but about everyday heritage, like the Moroccan couches on the left, which are part of a tradition and history, which is important for Moroccan migrants, but also is taken over and appropriated by other people. What does this mean? How does this represent the past? These are questions which are relevant here. But also looking at heritage, which is important for Dutch people, like meatballs. As you can see in these typical Dutch machines, which you can find in the streets of the Netherlands. How is this part of our history is an important question. And we can also work with examples from all over the world. Take the example of tikka masala, which has clear Indian roots, but which was claimed by a UK politician as indispensable UK heritage, and which led to a lot of discussion as, for instance, a new form of post-colonial colonialism. Third and last thematic course is Sustainable Development in Historical Perspective. This builds upon the so-called History Manifesto, a book in which the authors claim that historians should take part in public debates and try to help solve important issues of today's society. So we will look in this course how we can help to contribute to the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals. By looking, for instance, at historical data of emissions and debates about gender equality and how this is rooted in the past. And we will try to see how historians can help solve wicked problems of today's world. Next to that, you have to write a final project. This is different from the classical thesis if you want, because you can also do different kinds of final projects. This is accompanied by the research workshop, where we will help you with defining your final project, and where we work with you until the end of the year to make sure that you write an interesting final project. So here it doesn't have to be a thesis. It can also be something else. It can be a documentary script, and we have a large tradition of these kind of documentaries at Erasmus University History Department. or a proposal for an exhibition. And what we do here is that you have part of it is scientific research, as it's still university training, but part of your final project is something which is really an application of history, like a script, like a documentary, like an exhibition. We have a tradition of internships in Erasmus University in the history department, tradition which goes far beyond the current applied history master. If you compare it with other history departments, we have more experience here, but we will now also offer the opportunity to do a larger internship of 10 EC if you want to make sure that you have enough experience to work as an applied historian. And here you see on the slide a couple of institutes who we cooperate. In term 3 and 4, there are all kinds of electives. There are some of them are on the slide. Heritage and fashion, global environmental politics. But we also look at a couple of courses we can offer from arts and culture and media studies to make sure that you are prepared for the labor market, and that you also know how to communicate history, for instance. Okay, what kind of careers can you expect? Well, you see here a lot of examples. We're aiming at government, diplomacy, policymakers or policy advice, journalism or media, museums, archives, research institutions, business traineeships, education, history education, and PhDs. These were already possible with our other master tracks, but we believe that with our applied history master program, you have even a better preparation for a career with an historical background. Okay, if you have further questions, you can contact me as the Director of Education, Maarten van Dijck. It's also the email address here of Mark Hay, or Master Coordinator. If you have questions about admission, you can contact Mies van Jaarsveld. She is our Master Admissions Officer. And of course, we have also a student advisor, Evelyn Schever. You can also contact her or her colleagues. We have more than one student advisor. You can also connect with them and ask your questions. I hope this gave you some insights in what our Master in Applied History is about. I hope to see you in our program. I'm really enthusiastic about it, and I believe it's a very interesting program for historians of the future. Thank you for your attention.